Hello, my name is Bree, and I'd like to welcome you to my channel, Breezy Banter, the place where I talk about the things I want to talk about. In today's video, I'm doing a continuation of a series that I have here on my channel, where I discuss my particular experience with a specific indie perfume house. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the perfume house Possets, and I'll be telling you the name of the perfume that I tried, the notes as described by the store, my experience wearing that particular perfume scent, whether I received it as a free sample, my rating, and whether or not I want to full size it. And then I also discuss my overall experience with the customer service, as well as the turnaround time, shipping policies, that sort of thing. Before we get started, I want to just briefly talk about what I tend to look for and enjoy in a perfume versus things that I don't tend to like as much. Notes that I generally almost always enjoy include vanilla, sugar, cotton candy, and lime. So generally speaking, if something is very sweet and occasionally gourmand, then that tends to work for me. In terms of notes that I think are just okay, these include most fruit notes, florals, and musk. And then in terms of notes that I dislike, this often includes rose, pumpkin, incense, wood, and anything that is generally on the more masculine side of things. So with that in mind, let's get into the perfumes. The first perfume that I have here is called Alabama. I rated it 5 out of 10 and I do not want to full size it. So with that in mind, let's get started with the perfumes that I've tried from Possets. I'll say right now that this video might be a bit longer because I've actually tried quite a few from Possets. It's probably my third or fourth, maybe fifth most tried brand, which I thought is interesting because it's not one that necessarily sticks out in my mind, but then when I think about it and when I look at my spreadsheet, I'm like, oh yeah, like there were a lot of scents that really worked for me from this house. And in the past, I've said that, and as I said in the intro, I explained whether or not I want to full size something. Just for the sake of brevity, I will explain that generally speaking, if I rated something a 9 or 10, I almost always want to full size it. There might be the occasion where I don't want to, in particular if the scent is very similar to something that I already own. If I rated something 8 out of 10, I may or may not want to full size it, and then anything below that I generally don't full size. So instead of saying that for each perfume, just keep that in mind as I go through this list. So the first scent that I've tried, or I should say that's on my spreadsheet, is called Alabama. I rated it 5 out of 10. The notes are Alabama weaves pink fizzy mimosa, thick white magnolia, cane brake jasmine, Mexican tuberose, and Martinique gardenia. One thing I'll also say is you'll find as I go through these, some of the notes for these scents are they're as I just described, which is like to the point, it tells you the notes. And then some of Posset's descriptions are also not like that at all, like to the point where it's very unclear what you're actually purchasing. It'll become more clear as I work through the notes, which ones are like this versus which ones are not, but it lends to some interesting decision making, I'll say that. So my thoughts on this are that the scent is very florally. It reminds me of a typical department store scent. Next is Amethyst, which I rated 6 out of 10. The notes are a sharp amber to start, combined with a smoother, more caramel-like amber, and a great shot of lavender on top of it all. I said this is a really nice scent, although it comes across far more florally than the description would make you expect. It's like rich old lady perfume, but in a good way. Next is Angelic Host 6 Dominions, which I rated 6 out of 10. The notes are amber and labdanum, a small crumb of frankincense, and 2 more ambers. I said this smells like a kind of sexy traditional perfume. I don't have much to say about it other than it's nice, but it's not for me. Next is Angelic Host 9th Seraphim, which I rated 7 out of 10, and I received this one as a free sample. The notes are 5 vanillas, most of them fat and buttery vanillas cut with lean and sharp vanillas, and are blended with 6 different ambers, which give the hypnotic part to the whole. I said this is fairly straightforward and an unimposing blend. It smells good, but not great. This is likely a result of the simplicity of the notes. It has a summery/clean vibe to it somehow. Next is Arrival of the Queen of Sheba, which I rated 9 out of 10. The notes are Mysore sandalwood, suede, frankincense, patchouli, 4 vanillas. I said this scent is super warm and sexy. It's like summertime in the desert, but you've just bathed in a wooden bath filled with vanilla. In a word, it's sultry. Next is BBC, which I rated 7 out of 10. While it smells really tasty, my porous skin could not handle cinnamon at all. I'll also briefly mention that this is typical for me. So generally speaking, if a scent has most spice notes, but in particular cinnamon, sometimes nutmeg, they can react very poorly on my skin. So it's not specific to Possets. This is just something that I experience regularly. Next is Candy Swag, which I rated 5 out of 10. It says, candy and more candy until you are buzzing like a bee and then some. You will be involuntarily licking your teeth when you put this one on. Scrumptious, unisex, foodie, pure, sweet, foodie, gourmand. So this is just an example where the description kind of gets away from itself, but that's fine. I said this was fine. I quite liked it upon application, but it definitely isn't that special and it didn't have great longevity. Next is Chocolate Incense, which I rated 9 out of 10. The notes are sandalwood, amber, frankincense, bring out the smoky teas and chocolate, which you probably had no idea was there. I said this scent is similar to Black Moon from Firebird. It is super sexy and badass. And Firebird is another perfume house that I have a video on my channel if you are interested in watching that one as well. Next is Churpz, which I rated 9 out of 10. The notes are named after the marshmallow chick so common at this time of year. Churpz is all fluffy, puffy fun and nothing instructive, corrective, or refined. Churpz is simple, all-out pleasure in things which are sweet and gooey and a mental orgasm. So again, like this isn't the worst of it. We're still gonna get to that, but that description doesn't really tell you what's it about. I said the scent is very sweet and sugary and gourmand. I didn't expect the longevity to be as long as it was. It lasted all day. Again, as is very common with a lot of perfumes, if you have like a lot of sugar notes, the longevity tends to be on the lower side. That just wasn't the case with this particular perfume. Next is Colossus of Memnon, which I rated 8 out of 10. The notes are coconut, lime, and pineapple, 2 ambers, a sweet and a sophisticated one. I said this is such an interesting scent. It's definitely as described, but it's kind of hard to explain why. I get the coconut and some more citric notes, but the amber mixed in is so different. It's definitely a grown-up fruit scent. Next is Complex Sugar, which I rated 4 out of 10. It's described as something sweet, very sweet, but yet subtle with a hint of something on your tongue and mind just to keep chasing around and never quite catching. I said this scent is less sweet than I was expecting. It's definitely not a bad scent, but there's a complexity in the notes that just isn't super interesting to me. The longevity and foliage was on the poorer side. Next is Courtly Love, which I rated 7 out of 10. The notes are coconut, dances with apricot, and a light kiss of vanilla, and a very sweet, not stinky jasmine to make a honeyed note stand out. I said the scent changes between love and eh. It almost smells like there's some grapefruit in it, but that's not the case based on the notes. I think the apricot note is what's making me not like it as much as I otherwise would. Then there's Cri de Coeur, which I rated 7 out of 10. The notes are vanilla, nougat, coconut, sweet musk, tobacco flower, swirling cotton, a drop of nigchapa, chypre, black musk, and sugarcane. I said this is a very nice scent. It's sweet and soft, like a sundress in the summer. The only downside is that you have to be quite close to be able to smell it. I would buy a full size if the smell was stronger. Then there's Cygnus the Swan, which I rated 7 out of 10. It says that this is a very, 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 very sexy blend of the scent of real vanilla, musk, golden musk, sugar concentrate, and a cord that smells a lot like fondant and pink musk. I said, I don't know if I would describe this scent as particularly sexy or sweet. I definitely get the rose mixed with some musk and something slightly sweet. Overall, it's not a bad scent, and it does in fact last a long time. Next is Dance With Me, which I rated 6 out of 10. The notes are a superb coumarin laced lavender combines with fizzy pink grapefruit, and it all rests on a bed of white musk. I said, as described. I would have guessed there was a champagne note in it as well, but I guess not. The pink grapefruit is very prominent. Then there's Fondly, which I rated 8 out of 10. This says vanilla-esque and real easy to wear. Again, another twist on that ever most popular smell. I said this is a really nice scent. You can definitely smell the vanilla notes, but there's something gourmandy about it without being straight cake. It is exactly as described. And on second wear, I said it actually smells like there's a bit of cherry in it as well. Next is Gelato Strawberry from Syracuse, which I rated 4 out of 10. It says So I'm trying to find the actual notes, and this is an example. So it says, "You've not lived until you taste the strawberries in Sicily. What makes them so different and beautiful? The sun and the passion, that's what. Crush them and add them to gelato, and the scent and taste is so glorious. Your mortal body can scarcely contain the pleasure, very fresh and not cloying at all." So that doesn't really help me all that much. I said that this is a quite sweet strawberry scent. I was hoping the gelato would be more prominent. There is an herbalness to it. Next is the scent Gingerbread Whorehouse, which I rated 9 out of 10. It says, "This is European gingerbread given an American Cajun jolt with the spices. Ginger, black pepper, clove, cinnamon, coriander, and a kiss of pink pepper. It's sweet but not cloying, cake-like but not too soft. It has a bite, but you would expect no less." So when I had ordered this, there was actually a note on the shipping list that said that this wasn't available as a sample, which was how I purchased it, but I still got it. So I'm not sure exactly how that worked out, but it did. I said this scent didn't irritate my skin at all, which I thought was going to be an issue. That said, it's sweet, but not too sweet, and ever so slightly spicy. It's an unexpected love. Next is Hysteria, which I rated 8 out of 10. The notes are sugar, sugar, sugar. Maybe there's a shot of butter somewhere in there, and I'm suspecting that there is a tot of vanilla. It's a really good Mexican vanilla for sure. I said that this scent is super sweet and rich. I can definitely get the sugar, vanilla, and butter, and it seems like there's the slightest honey note in it too. The longevity is surprisingly long given the amount of sugar in this perfume. Next is Id, which I rated 9 out of 10. The notes are, Id is all fun with drippy, gooey chocolate and a heart of vanilla caramel, a kiss of lavender, and sweet, sugary indulgence. I said this is a great scent. I definitely get chocolate with some vanilla and some floral notes. Next is Indigo, which I rated 8 out of 10. The notes are a hint of lavender and a kiss of spice and the tiniest bit of vanilla. I said at first I got metallic ink. It quickly became an herbaceous lavender with slight vanilla and musk mixed in. It's a very interesting and strange scent. It smells clean without being green or citrusy. Then there's Iowa, which I rated 9 out of 10. The notes are, this one starts out with a crystallized vanilla, a hint of turbinado sugar, and a large dose of an accord based on wheat. There's no wheat in it. It's the essence of the fragrance of wheat blossoms and a small amount of a whiskey-like addition. I said this scent is delicious as described. Next is Lavender Pepys, which I rated 9 out of 10. It's described as, yes, there have been candies made with lavender in the past, pastilles usually, but when you mix that clean and innocent smell with something devilish like marshmallow and other goodies, then you have a real sinful thing to enjoy after a long, dry season of denial. I said the scent is so interesting. I definitely get the lavender and perhaps a bit of honey. It's warm and inviting and still quite sweet and feminine. I'm all about it. Next is Lovechild-Sweetbaby, which I rated 7 out of 10. The notes are vanilla concentrated with lavender and amber. I said the scent smells like it has a white flower note in it. It's lovely and sweet and fresh, but something smells just slightly off about it. But I did make a note that I reviewed it when I had the flu, so it's possible that was throwing off my senses. Next is Madame X, which I have not tried yet, so I don't have a rating for it. The notes are, it's musky, creamy, enticing, perfumey, slightly foody, but very skin-like. Its notes, skin musk, wax cream, lemon zest, champagne, and a kiss of butter vanilla. I have smelled this in the bottle, and I think I will quite like it. And this is one of their more popular scents, so I expect that that's probably for a good reason. Next is Miss Rabbit's Carrot Cake, which I rated 7 out of 10. The notes are the most moist and vanilla-drenched milking cake shot through with sugar-encrusted, rum-kissed currants and golden raisins, and crowned with the richest butter-filled sour cream and ricotta frosting and trimmed with tiny spun sugar, carrots, and grass. I said, I get sweetness from the scent sometimes and a pleasant, bitter spiciness at other times. Next is Ode to Aphrodite, which I rated 7 out of 10. The notes are oak moss, sandalwood, sage, citrus, Possets, synthetic, ambergris, accord. I said, this one comes across with heavy floral and earth notes, yet also has a bit of what smells like cologne in it. It's nice, but there's something too rosy for me here. Then there's the scent Ouija, which I rated 1 out of 10. The notes are calming cedar and rosewood, black vanilla, fat vanilla, and a touch of rose to give it a sweet side, black silk scent, and a touch of coriander. My notes on this are, oh my god, I hate this. It is so smoky. I get no vanilla and no rose, thankfully, for the rose part, and the coriander is just awful. So this was definitely a big miss for me. Next is Perpetual Orgasm, which I rated 6 out of 10. The notes are, okay, I'm gonna read the entire thing, and this is where we're kind of getting into where notes are deviating from what one might typically expect. The divine honey, which the bees make on dry and craggy plains, is the starting point for such a melting blend. Malta is an arid country, and the non-populated expanses are covered with tough aromatic growth, which needs little rainfall. It is in that hard herbal mat that the bees wrestled the tiniest drops of nectar out of sparse light blue flowers and somehow managed to manufacture honey of such brilliance it's almost as if the sun was captured and liquefied. Added to this is a shard of sharp lemon zest and the smooth modification of honey, both citrus which can be found in abundance in the Mediterranean and which naturally complement Maltese honey, and you will have found a paradise in a bottle. So like you have some idea what's in there, like honey clearly, some citrus notes, but there's just so much fluff in there that I'm like, is this describing a note or is this just giving me information like a textbook? I'm not sure. I said this scent is primarily honey and citrus, perhaps lime and orange. It's nice, but not to my taste. Next is Pink Cake, which I rated 9 out of 10. The notes are a frothy piece of cake hidden under a dense crust of butter and sugar flavored with the silliest strawberries you ever tasted. It's very straightforward, but so moist, it's a bit like a custard, but not quite. So very, very, very good. It is said to be an aphrodisiac. I said the scent is lovely. It is fruity, strawberry, and sweet. I'm not sure I get actual cake from this, but rather more general sweetness. Next is Ponder, which I rated 8 out of 10. The description is Ponder is full of mischief, and this fragrance is made up from the ground, perfect lavender/vanilla like no one else's. We had to find the perfect vanilla for this blend. We used a Mexican vanilla without a woody edge, which is very smooth and almost spice-laden. We also added a perfect Bulgarian lavender, which is full of coumarin and a hint of saffron, which will make you smile for its stone-like edge, which somehow makes things sweeter. A very, very light rasp of the lemon, and voila. I said that this scent is sweet and rich and gourmand. I definitely get the lavender/vanilla combination along with the lemon. I think it basically smells like a lemon loaf from Starbucks. Next is the scent Rabbitas, which I received as a free sample, and I did not try it. I actually sold this one. The notes are the tangiest and most strawberried and rhubarb goodness is the perfect counterpoint to a flaky and buttery crust, thoroughly crunchy with extra vanilla and such exquisite bits of sugar crystals forming in the tart heart of a perfectly spiced confection. I'm pretty sure I smelled this in the bottle and it was the spices that were really apparent, and I just expected that it wouldn't work on my skin, so I just went ahead and sold it. Next is Reason Rev 1, which I rated 8 out of 10. The notes are 5 vanillas and 3 toffees and a big glop of butter and cream on it all. I said in 4 words, yummy, sweet, gourmand, rich. It's almost like a cinnamon bun minus the cinnamon. Then there's Scent from Heaven, which I rated 8 out of 10. The notes are tuberose, jasmine, peach, iris, gardenia, apricot, ambergris, coriander, balsam, and red musk. I said this scent is super feminine and floral, but the musk grounds it. It could very easily veer into an old lady perfume, which is fine, just not my vibe. But instead it gives off a fancy, they put in the effort vibe. Then there's Sex in Heaven, which I rated 9 out of 10. And my apologies, the Scent from Heaven, the one that I just mentioned, I received that as a free sample as well. So for Sex in Heaven, I rated it 9 out of 10. The notes are coconut, vanillas, 2 fabulous types, Mexican and Tahitian, and a lashing of sandalwood. I said the scent is exactly as one would expect given this description. It is very warm and very vanilla forward. Yum. Then there's Silver Amber, which I received as a free sample. I rated it 7 out of 10. The notes are Silver Amber contains 5 ambers, lemony, resiny, sweet, dry, and a pollen-like amber, cozying up to the marvelous base we use in the silver line. I said this scent is interesting, rich and yes, ambery. The lemon comes through and makes it smell clean and yet deep. Then there's Silver Narcissus, which I also received as a free sample. I did not try this one, so I did not rate it. I sold it. The notes are a stunning fragrance that combines the luxurious Possets silver base with the iconic Narcissus flower, evoking the essence of a warm and vibrant spring morning. I'm pretty sure when I smelled this, it was just like straight florals, and that's generally not what I go for, so I didn't try it. Next is Solace Anima, which again I received as a free sample. I did not try it, so I did not rate it. And the notes for this one, hold on to your hats. The bright and tangy aroma of blood orange is blended with the delicate sweetness of lychee tea and the alluring scent of fragrant screw pine flower, creating a heady and intoxicating opening chord that is both refreshing and uplifting. Intriguing and complex roots of tamarind, cucumber, and ginger add a touch of spice and depth to the scent, while the subtle and fresh aroma of tomato infuses the fragrance with a natural and earthy quality. The base of Solus Anima is anchored by the rich and warm scents of vetiver, cadamba, flowers, and sandalwood, creating a smooth and sensual finish that lingers on the skin. What I remember when I smelled this was very earthy tomatoes, and I detest tomatoes, let alone in a perfume, so I just could not. Next is Sweet Arabia, which I rated 9 out of 10. The notes are a typically Arabian blend with 3 ouds: white, sandalwood, a hint of charcoal burning. Yes, it does have its own very appealing scent. Golden copal and myrrh tears, strong and long-lasting, endowed with a bit of labdanum. I said the scent is really warm, cozy, and sexy. It has the slightest masculine touch to it. Overall, it has a really good vibe. Next is Sweet New England Vermont, which I rated 9 out of 10. The notes are slightly herbal, shot of lime with a thick overlay of part of the smell of maple syrup. I said this scent is delicious as described. Then there's The Girls Love Vanilla, which I rated 6 out of 10. The notes are, for anyone who loves the smell of vanilla, this is the super saturated, honey-soaked, sinful, hedonistic, custom rare, and unabashed blend you've been waiting for. Outrageously lovely, too pretty for angels almost, but not too pretty for you. I said this scent was a bit of a disappointment for me given how much I love vanilla, though it is still a nice scent. The vanilla comes through, obviously, and the honey, though I wouldn't describe it as foodie. It's a bit difficult to describe this beyond it being a simple and sweet scent, but the sweetness is more of a floral nature rather than a sugary nature. And the last scent that I tried from them is called Wings of an Angel, which I rated 9 out of 10. The notes are hawthorn, white musk, a touch of ethereal mintiness, gorgeous regal vanilla bourbon. I said the scent is so good. The musk really grounds the floral aspects to the scent. I didn't know that hawthorn is in the rose family, but it adds the perfect amount of floral but not straight rose to the scent. It's feminine and rich. So those are all the scents that I've tried from Possets. As I mentioned earlier, Possets doesn't really stick out in my head as one of like my favorite perfume shops. That said, it's very clear to me, like looking at these, there are quite a few that I've full-sized already, and there's a number that I want to full-size in the future. I don't know why I have that in my head, but I do. So I have to reflect on that a bit more. Where I think Possets really shines is particularly with their scents that use a lot of vanilla and more earthy notes. So I'm thinking things like almost anything that's described as like having lavender, you're gonna get a more herbal lavender as opposed to like a sweet lavender. And I think most of their scents that have like floral notes or plant notes, I think those tend to be quite photorealistic. I know that Possets also has probably 2 of my favorite sort of syrupy scents. I found that with a lot of other stores, syrup and in particular maple syrup can be very hit or miss, or there's like a weird kind of not aftertaste, but like an after scent that kind of lingers on the skin. And Possets, at least in my experience, doesn't have that issue. So I think if you tend to enjoy, let's say, earthy vanilla scents, Possets likely is a great shop to purchase from. In terms of customer service and like turnaround time, shipping, all of that, I had ordered from them about 3 years ago on February 22nd. They shipped my order February 28th. And then I ordered from them last year on February 14th, and they shipped my order on February 18th. So I didn't check how many business days those are, but even if we count the full time frame, we're talking 6 days and then 4 days. And I'm sure there was like a weekend in there, so it's likely even less than that. Generally speaking, everything that I've seen, heard, read about, experienced is that Possets is a very well-respected brand. They are very quick in terms of turnaround time. Like I said, for me, it was like 4 to 6 days, including like weekend days. And I've heard people say like their orders have shipped out within like 1 to 3 days. So they're definitely on the quicker turnaround time end of things. They also run a handful of sales throughout the year, which are relatively significant. I think the highest I've ever seen was 30% off. but I would say probably once every 3 or so months they'll have like a 20 or 25% off sale. And the other nice thing about them is that they have samples, so you can purchase samples directly from them. That's not necessarily common within the indie sphere. Maybe like 70, I shouldn't say it's not common. I would guess that like 70 to 75% of shops have samples that you can purchase from them directly. It's just nice because that's how I tried almost every scent here was a sample originally. It's also quite nice that, as I mentioned, they provide a number of free samples when you order from them. I don't consider it a negative if a company does not include a free sample, because when I purchase, I'm always purchasing everything that I want, as opposed to hoping that like I'll get something extra. If there is something extra, then that's nice. It's just not a negative if I don't receive it. So I figured that that's worth mentioning. I also find their prices to be typical, perhaps on the lower end of things, especially once you add in like a 20 to 25% off sale, then it's very reasonable. They ship to Canada, which is quite nice. I think currently they don't ship to the UK, but other places in general are pretty good. One thing I note is that I can't find a turnaround time stated on their website. It's possible, I swear like I've seen one, so it's possible that when you check out, there's a statement as to what the turnaround time is at the time. So my experience is that they ship very quickly. I just wish that information was more clearly stated for the consumer. One thing that I'll also mention is that Possets has a monthly subscription that you can participate in. It's $18 US each month, and you get 8 different samples, which that's an incredible deal. That's what, $2.25 a sample. If you are starting out in like the perfume space, this seems to me like a great way to have like a wide variety of perfumes to try at a pretty affordable price point. I think Possets has a very large catalog, so you're likely to get like a bunch of different types of perfumes, like sweet perfumes versus earthy perfumes versus atmospheric perfumes, like that sort of thing. And I wish I had known about it when I was first getting into perfumes, because I suspect that I probably would have tried it at least for like a couple months. Perhaps after like 4 months it would have been overwhelming, but I think at the time it would have been nice to get that sort of constant influx and really find out what my tastes are at a relatively low price point. So I just think it's really nice that that is something that they offer. So I think that's all that I have to talk about when it comes to Possets. As you can see, like they have a generally pretty high win rate for me as a consumer. So that's nice to see, even though I think hearing all of the notes and based on what I told you at the beginning, that a lot of the scents that I ended up really enjoying don't necessarily match one-to-one to my typical likes or dislikes, but that's fine. Like, love to experiment, so it's all fun at the end of the day. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And before you go, I'd love to hear from you if there are any scents that you've tried from Possets that I didn't mention that you think I should try, because I'm always looking to try new things from the companies that I already know that I love. Before I go, I'd like to take a minute to thank you for taking time out of your day to spend watching this video. It really means a lot to me. Thank you. Bye.